If you've always been afraid to communicate the power of psychedelics to people in your everyday life, or worried that you'll get the weird or crazy label, then this trip report is for you. Because today's trip report is how I got two of my closest friends awoken to the powerful, healing, cleansing nature of psychedelics. All of the trip reports I've done on this channel to date, all of the realizations I've had, have been experienced all by myself, and this was my first time getting my two friends to try psychedelic with me. Of course, I did not force or try to heavily influence either of these two to take LSD, but I put the idea out there for them if they wanted to try it. And I knew these two were by far the most open-minded of my friend group, so it wasn't hard for them to summon the will to take this substance, even though they were a little skeptical about it. Anyway, we all dropped close to 200 micrograms, and yes, although I was tripping as well, I still considered myself the trip sitter, since I knew 200 micrograms was pretty much nothing for me. I've done upwards of 750 before, and I knew I could keep the situation fully under control with 200 micrograms and still be able to guide them towards a positive experience, which I did. We dropped around 10 p.m. and chilled with some music for about an hour before we started noticing effects. I told them the first signs of it kicking in is that you'll notice things you didn't know, that you didn't notice before, like the blinds slightly shaking, a poster on the wall moving with the air blown from the fan, and stuff like that. And they began to notice stuff like that. Soon after, we soon began to experience the wall breathing, as well as patterns on the wall and ceiling slowly start to move. When one of my friends noticed the visuals kicking in, he took out his drawing pad and began to sketch, because he'd been pretty fascinated knowing that acid can greatly enhance creativity, and I'll show you some of his sketches later in the video. Anyway, at about 11:30, a little less than an hour and a half after dropping, we really began to feel like we're coming up. Everything started to be funny. We watch funny TikTok compilations on YouTube and try not to laugh, and the whole time we're just dying laughing. We can't even last 10 seconds. After this, I showed them some of my favorite music videos to watch while tripping, and the most profound one was, I would say, You and Me by Disclosure, the Flume remix. I'll put that in the description. Literally one of the best videos someone can watch while tripping, in my opinion. I showed them a couple more trippy music I liked, and then they showed me theirs. And this whole time, it is an absolute journey to type the title of the song into YouTube, because we're beginning to peak and can't focus on anything, and we're just starting to laugh our ass off for no reason. Once we're done watching music videos, we're officially at the onset of the peak. So we go into the backyard to smoke a few bowls to enhance the experience. And this entire time we're fumbling to fill the pipe, laughing uncontrollably as we try to light the weed. Smoking just a couple bowls took way longer than it should have. While we're outside smoking, we realize how incredibly foggy it is outside, and we marvel at how crazy the light from the street lights is bouncing through the fog. So after smoking, it's close to 1 a.m., and we decide to chill on the front of the house for a bit. We stand out there, talking and laughing, marveling at how trippy the street lights just pierced through the fog. And the fog was so thick, we could not even see 30 yards down the street. At one point, one of my friends bolts down the street until we can't see him. We marvel about how he just literally disappeared, and then almost immediately after he comes bolting back. And we have a good laugh for a couple minutes, and then we realize we're probably being way too loud, so we should go back inside to avoid waking up any neighbors at 1 in the morning. When we go back in, we really begin to trip absolute balls. My friend continues to draw, completes an amazing drawing that perfectly encompasses an acid trip. I'll get that on the screen for you right now. Yep, those are psychedelic as fuck. No other way to describe it. I think we watched a few more music videos, but at one point we did turn them off, as well as all the other lights in the house, and completed the last hour of our peak in silent darkness, which was pretty wild for them. The scarce amount of light caused the pillows on the couch across from me to look like a person, and for the first time during the trip, we all closed our eyes and experienced spectacular, closed-eye hallucinations. Collectively, we all felt like the room was spinning around us, but when we would open our eyes, we would realize the sheer stillness of the room, and how in fact it wasn't moving at all. One of my friends got in a pee loop, and went to the bathroom about 5 or 6 times in the course of 2 hours, which is something I have experienced before. When we're near the end of the peak and beginning to transition to the comedown, this is when our deep conversations about the nature of the universe and the meaning of life itself occurs. This was the first time I was ever able to successfully communicate any of my realizations in person to other people. Somehow on LSD, our ability to articulate things is just better, and it's easier to get our points across to other people, especially people who are also tripping as well. And I got my points across perfectly, and also got a lot of great deep insights from them as well. And we all sort of fed each other in the conversation, each person building upon every idea, contributing to many of the deep realizations as a whole. We talked about many things on the comedown, so many things that I can't share it all in the video to avoid making it an hour long. Since we talked about deep shit from 2 a.m. to 5:30 in the morning, before we started our conversations, we watched a video called The Egg on YouTube that I truly believe is one of the best videos to date that captures the true meaning of why we exist. Anyway, after we watched The Egg, one of the points we talked about is no matter how much we marvel at the universe and ponder our existence, we can never fully wrap our minds around it. And each time we attempt to, we always come back to what we called the point. And this point represents so many things. Like no matter how much we think about the universe, how it begins, how it ends, what we were before our human body, what we will be after, why we exist, how we exist, we always come back to this point. And I can't think of any way better to describe it than the point. When we reach this point in our thoughts, we just say the word why, meaning that why do we exist here? What's next? What happens after we die? The point represents all that we do not know. It represents the beginning, the end, nothing and everything. It represents the absolute infinite nature of the universe. Once my friends had collectively realized the true infiniteness of the universe after I explained many concepts to them, we all discussed on if there's a way to break free of this infiniteness, and the answer we came up with is, we just don't know. I personally don't think it's possible, but somebody proposed if we were to break free of the infinite nature of the universe, would that be us ascending into the next dimension? Perhaps, but then we came back to realize that yes, there are likely an infinite amount of dimensions, so doing that would never break us free from absolute infinity. So then at the point we were like, fuck, the universe really is infinite and there is no escaping. And I know us humans can't wrap our head around everything with our puny brains, and perhaps realizing more and more is crucial to our next step in evolution, but something tells me there is a way to break free of it all, that somehow there is a way. I don't know what it is or how it is, but there is a way of breaking free of everything somehow. And this very thought took us into our next point, enlightenment. Considering that enlightenment is the breaking free of the ego and the realization of the true self, somehow I was able to communicate the concept to my two friends so well during this time that it resonated with them so deeply. While now I struggle to write what I thought I had said, but I talked to them about the illusion the ego plays on us. It causes us to do things we don't really want to do, things that aren't aligned with ourselves, and how this capitalistic society we live in is just very ego-filled and can lead us to live kind of rotten lives in a way. Not everyone, but for some people who take it way too far. Then I talked to them about the entire concept and main ideas of Buddhism to help them better understand the illusion the ego plays, and how enlightenment represents so many different things, such as the breaking free of the ego, experiencing pure oneness, seeing everything for what it truly is, without the projection of the ego on it, and whatnot. It's the realization of the one, the realization of the point that we had talked about earlier. We then talked about society and how literally our entire lives are built on obtaining money, just so we can survive and reproduce. And then we realized just about everything we'll ever do has to do with surviving and better our chances at reproduction. Then we marveled about how these two ideas, survival and reproduction, are just ingrained into us. It's ingrained into our biology. And we thought about what would happen if we just rejected those things, didn't give in to our reproductive urges, and didn't even give in to our survival urges. Well, obviously we'd die if we stopped giving in to our survival urges, but then that led us to think, so is death to break free? Is death the breaking free of infinity? Well, not exactly, we thought, but it's breaking free of ego and the person we embodied during this life. But who knows what happens after? And then that just led us back to the point again, just leaving us asking why? Why are we here? What are we doing? No matter how hard we think, we'll come back to this point of not knowing, and then we ultimately just concluded we're just here to vibe, live our life to the best of our abilities, and we'll be the happiest we can be. There's no reason to overthink shit, because at the end of the day, we're all just here to vibe. And when we die, we'll go on to whatever's next. This was a massively enlightening experience for my two friends. They would describe it as the experience they didn't know they needed, and at this point, they had finally broken free of the negative stigma around psychedelic drugs in our society, realizing it isn't bad, and in fact is one of the most enlightening experiences somebody can ever have. And it's just crazy how the laws prohibit us from having this experience. We all expanded our consciousness that night, and no authority figure should ever have say in what we decide to do with our consciousness. There was overwhelming love and acceptance among the three of us, and they seemed to be pretty proud that I had done all the work all alone to realize the things I've had. And I told them it is fucking amazing to finally communicate my ideas to people who resonate with them. When we were done tripping, they realized, how the fuck can we ever explain this to the everyday person? We'll look crazy. And I just told them, yeah, we do look crazy trying to communicate our realizations to everyday people, and that's why it's so hard to get more people to open up to these substances. And that's why I didn't try to communicate my realizations with them before. I waited until they were in the same state of mind as I was in order to receive the information. They described the experience afterwards like a dream. It was so profound in the moment, yet when it's done, it is hard to put the pieces back together, and not every feeling can be remembered. I also told them that 200 micrograms only scratches the surface. They were nowhere close to ego death, which is where so many incredible realizations occur. Both of them are interested in a higher dose, and I told them I'd definitely be willing to trip sit them for that. I'm so glad that they're interested in diving deep into the mind, trying to discover who we are, and searching for answers. Even though it was only 200 micrograms, it was my favorite trip to date because I finally got to share the experience with others. That's about all I have for you guys today. This video is probably my longest to date, so somehow if you are here, click that subscribe button. There's no way you made it here and don't want to subscribe. And also please drop a like as well too. It helps promote my content so more people can see it. And as always guys, have a great day and peace.